So ladies and gentlemen, welcome. First, a round of applause to both teams on stage. Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the achievement of financial security, some tend to believe that financial illiteracy is a pedestal, while proponents tend to argue otherwise. Let's witness the ultimate showdown between St. Clair's Girls Secondary School and Kapsabet boys as they dissect the motion that reads, corruption is a greater impediment in achieving financial security amongst the youth than financial illiteracy. I'll read the motion again. Corruption is a greater impediment in achieving financial security amongst the youth than financial literacy. Proposing and opposing this motion is St. Clair's Girls Secondary School and Kapsabet boys. All the best to both teams on stage. I'll be your host for today, Hamza Hussein.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to strongly propose to the motion that states, corruption is a greater impediment in achieving financial security amongst the youth than financial illiteracy. I'd like to start by defining the following terms. Impediment. Impediment is something that slows down or stops problems. In short, impediment is an obstacle. Financial illiteracy. Financial illiteracy basically means lack of financial skills such as personal financial management, budgeting, and investing. Financial security, this is basically the safety of our finances. Lastly, I would like to define corruption. Corruption is a dishonest or illegal behavior, especially of people in authority. On to my very first point, erosion of trust. When the youths see their leaders engaging in corruption activities, they lose their trust and faith in these leaders and the system of government. Let us take a very good example of our CS of Agriculture, Linturi. Linturi promised the farmers that he would provide them with high-quality fertilizers. But what did Linturi do instead? Linturi provided the farmers with fertilizers of very low quality that had sand and stones in them. Of course, the youth will not trust and have faith in what the government is producing. This will lead to them importing products from other countries for their local use, and hence leads to slow economic growth. To my second point, discouragement of investment. Corruption discourages domestic and foreign investment. Who on this earth would want to invest in a country that is full of corruption activities? What are the characteristics of a corrupt country? Number one, poor infrastructure. We have poor health sectors and countries that are prone to protests every now and then. For sure, this will reduce the job opportunities for the youths and will lead to slow economic growth in our country and economic activities for the youth to engage in. I would also want to speak about increase in criminal activities. Of course, if the leaders of our country are corrupt, the youth, let us take, I will not go far, the current situation in our country. We have the so-called maandamano going on. Why is this so? The government wanted to pass the finance bill. The government wanted to overtax tax our citizens or make them to provide money that they can and while they can barely survive for the mere for themselves. Thank you for this opportunity that you have given me to strongly propose to this motion, and I urge my fellow opposers to join hands and propose. Thank you.
A paper cannot cover up a flame. This is a Chinese proverb which figuratively means that the truth will eventually reveal itself despite of the efforts made to conceal it. There is one foe, one adversary which has been shackling economic development among our youth, and that is financial illiteracy. Our esteemed judges, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nigel Sikala from Kapsabet Boys, here to valiantly oppose the motion that Corruption is a greater impediment to achieving financial security among the youth than financial illiteracy. So, what is corruption? Corruption is the fraudulent and disingenuous misuse of entrusted power for personal gain or for the benefit of a selected few. What about financial security? Financial security refers to having enough money to fulfill one's financial obligations, to save money for the future, and to live a comfortable life without having to worry about one's financial status. And lastly, financial illiteracy. Financial illiteracy is the lack of knowledge and the skills necessary to effectively manage personal finances and make sound financial decisions. So, let's delve deeper into this topic. I'll start by giving you some brief statistics. So, in 2022, over a period of 3 months in America, the National Financial Educators Council conducted a survey to answer one question: how much money do Americans lose as a result of financial illiteracy? Their results: on average, one American loses $1,819. Yes, sounds like a small figure, but translate this amount using the 500 million Americans, of which 66% are illiterate. And what does this translate to? A whopping $486 billion. Yeah, quite a hefty fee. And majority of this population are the youth. The average youth in America today has accumulated a debt of $37,574 as a result of financial illiteracy. You'd find that financial illiteracy has caused the youth to accumulate an unsustainable amount of debt, which has rendered them incapable of kickstarting initiatives aimed at achieving the set objectives in the SDGs, that is Sustainable Development Goals. Financial illiteracy is a poison, and that has shackled economic development among the youth. Thank you. That was my time.
Remember, the road that leads to hell were made of good intentions, but it still led to hell. As my fellow opponent has just said, that if you have the knowledge to invest in your money, it will not get lost, you will save it. But let me tell you something, my brother. This money that you have entrusted it into someone who is still corrupt, your money will go, and the youth will still face financial security. So you cannot tell me that person who has the knowledge of stating their financials well will not have financial security. Remember, in a country that is corrupt, that money will still get erased. My name is Nora Kirini from St. Clair Girls Secondary School, here to strongly propose the motion that says corruption is a greater impediment in achieving financial security amongst the youth than financial illiteracy. On to my first point, diversion of resources. Now, the government taxes our fellow citizens. These resources are not diverted to the youth development programs. Instead, the corrupt government, is using them to enrich themselves. Instead of diverting that money and that finance to develop in developing country, they are buying what? Private jets. Just like our own Honorable William Ruto. Instead of developing the food shortages in undeveloped countries, just like Turkana, what is he doing? He is buying his own jet. He's making fake offices for for his own family. This is corruption that is taking place in Kenya. If corruption won't be there, we will not have financial security. But corruption is there, and this is the main reason as to why financial security, the youth have a problem in financial security. And to my second point, anarchy. A government that is corrupt will face anarchy. Anarchy is a situation whereby a country has no government, has no order, and has no control. Now, this government that is corrupt and has no other no control, it will lead to antisocial behaviors such as prostitution, theft, and many more. A person, let me dig deep into this. A person who is corrupt, just like our fellow political leaders, even the police officers on the road, just as we were coming here, the police officers stopped the bus to get what? To get bribes, which is what? Corruption. Now, the youth will face problems such as this. Those people that are highly educated and they are poor and they cannot bribe the officers to give them job opportunities, they will lack job opportunities. And this is the main reason as to why I am strongly proposing the motion that states corruption is a greater impediment in achieving financial security amongst the youth than financial literacy. So, my fellow opponents, don't waste your time. Cross the bridge. Join me in proposing this motion, for as time is precious. Thank you.
I bid you all good morning, and I have a request for you today. I ask that you lend me your ears that I may preach to you a gospel that I believe in. The gospel that I believe in is a gospel on financial literacy. So, our fellow proposers are coming here and telling us that corruption is a greater impediment to financial security as compared to financial illiteracy. So tell me, why is it that right now, the very reports that we see on news, on our very magazines, are the same thing being repeated over and over? It is the Gen Zs that are having protests across Kenya. Why do you think the Gen Zs are having protests? They're having protests because the Gen Zs are financially literate. The Gen Zs cannot allow a corrupt government to lead them, yet they know that there's something wrong with our government. We are financially literate. So, when we are financially literate, we can hold our government accountable for anything that they do that we not feel is not right. And you say that you come to me, and since I want to indulge in a certain entrepreneurial practice, it cannot undertake because there is corruption. You see, when you're financially literate, you get education that can help you to navigate the system. The system is against you, but because you know you are financially literate, you can navigate the system. You can be able to identify opportunities, identify niches in the community, and be able to make ideas out of them. I tell you, a case study that was conducted in India showed that the youth in India were able to invest, they were able to indulge in certain businesses, and this has made them to be resilient. Let us not be paralyzed by the thought of corruption and let it weigh us down. Let us be people who can be able to think outside the box, people who can be able to be resilient to this notion of corruption. Why? Because we are financially literate. You know, right now, someone who is financially illiterate, he gets to make uninformed decisions because he's financially illiterate. Do you know what making financial uninformed decisions leads to? It leads to a poverty cycle. I am a young entrepreneur. I go ahead and decide to make uninformed decisions based on this entrepreneurial practice because I am financially illiterate. When I do this, the generations that follow cannot be able to follow in my footsteps because this generation, I am creating a poverty cycle for them. I am enclosing them to a fixed radius of thought that they will always be weighed down by corruption, even though corruption, we can take it down because we are financially literate. Imagine that financial illiteracy exists in a country-wide scale. Our entire country or our government that is running us is completely financially illiterate. What do you think will happen? This will lead to us being robbed of our economic opportunities. Because our government cannot be able to plan for our finances, they will be able to rob us of our economic opportunities that we know we can be able to indulge in. There will be inequality in accessing services. We will not be able to access services as the nations. So I tell you, it is a lie when they say that corruption is a greater impediment. The truth is financial illiteracy. So let us all try our best to be financially literate. Thank you.
The Gen Z are having this mandamano because they're bearing in mind people are going out there, universities, taking PhDs, sacrificing their whole 6 years to go to universities to take medicine. Because of corruption, they get out there, they start hawking. Esther Wanjogu St. Clair, thank you for giving me the opportunity to propose the motion that corruption is a greater impediment in achieving financial security. On to my first point, increased inequality. Corruption exacerbates inequality by allowing the wealthy and powerful to manipulate systems. For example, employment systems. We get to see our youth out there struggling to access opportunities and resources necessary for a financial security. Like, for example, the current government system. Honorable William Ruto has denied young youths job opportunities out there. We see them struggling. That's why we see our young youths have that pain because of just sacrificing 6 years. And then you go out there, then they tell you don't have an opportunity. On to my second point, undermining the rule of law. Corrupt countries undermines the rule of law, leading to lack of accountability and transparency. Police officers are being bribed out there in the roads. We see people delivering bribes. Flourishing further databasing, making it difficult for young people to thrive. Nowadays, I see, for you to acquire anything, you must bribe. For one to acquire passports, you must bribe. For one to get something, you must bribe. No. Although financial illiteracy is indeed a barrier to financial security, its impact is often more individually. It's affected by one's educational and awareness on programs. But corruption is a systematic and persuasive that undermines every youth to acquire the financial security. I strongly propose this motion because let's just take a look at our youths out there. They're really suffering out there. They don't get to acquire chances to go out there. They don't have chances to acquire jobs. But what about the unlearned people? They're the people ruling us out there. What about us? We just waste time? No. So, I'll encourage you, my fellow opposers, stop wasting your time. Come and help me propose this motion. Thank you. I rest my case.
Wow. Wow. And wow. Abraham Mutai from the Kapsabet High School, here to gracefully oppose. I noticed something that you noted onto us, right? When it comes to job employment, should we rather be job seekers or job creators? That's the question. When it comes to financial literacy, if I'm financially literate, I'll notice that there's some issue, and I'll attack that issue. As a group, a marginalized group, the Generation Z. I don't know if you've gone through the finance bill. There's a lot going on. On June 24th, Parliament went through hell. Yes, you all noticed that. William Ruto was supposed to go there 27th June to attack on that thing. But what happened? Let me enlighten you. Kenya is 38% literate in terms of the youth. 38%. Kenya has 52% financially illiterate. Take this. Kenya has a population of 50 million. If you're going to take this, we're going to understand that we lose 400 billion Kenyan shillings annually through financial illiteracy. This amounts to $395 million annually. So, before you come on here and preach about corruption, corruption is the language of the world. Everybody knows that. Sure, you'll bribe. But when will you bribe? You'll bribe when you realize that there's an issue. You'll bribe that you know they are financially literate. Literate, this comes when you don't want to attack the situation. If you know you have an issue, why don't you attack it? Or do you just tend to oppose it? Take this. A metaphor from the alchemist's stone. Financial literacy on the Gen Z. I take it to this. You take sweat, risk, and tears in order to make gold. But alas, financial illiteracy knocks at your door. Knocks at your door. This comes like this. It becomes persuasive and very elusive. Very elusive. Debt, failure, and mental strain haunt their quest. The alchemist's workshop echoes with clatter of shattered dreams. This is financial illiteracy. Yes, I could give you stats, but I'll not give you stats from ChatGPT. I'll give you stats that are promoted there. International archives, ebooks, and theses. not Chat GPT. That's an artificial intelligence. Please, come here as a human being. You have your own intelligence. I don't oppose, but what I have to say, let's attack, let's remain factual. Thank you, and I've preached. Amen.
My fellow opposer, you said that are we being job seekers or job entrepreneurs? Everything that has a start has a base. Where are you going to find the money to start your own business? Where are you going to find the finances to start your business if you have not started by being employed? Hey, a very good example is my father. My father is an entrepreneur himself. But if it were not for him starting by seeking a job somewhere else to get the resources to start his own business, where will he get the money? And don't tell me that the entrepreneurs will be provided with money by their maybe relatives or parents. No, not everyone has these people who can give them financial support. Some people depend on themselves so that they depend on themselves, and some are even breadwinners for their families. So I think that you should really think about that and give me an answer.
Don't get me wrong. When we say that financial illiteracy is truly a great impediment, you should understand that financial illiteracy has been able to really create a great impediment. Why? The Kenyans that are here right now believe that being a youth is a time of life, when truly being a youth is a state of mind. I do not want to deny that I have to be first employed. But you know, when you're financially literate, you know that something called saving exists. When I decide to save my finances, I can be able to plan for the future that I have. I can be able to know that I want to achieve this, and in doing so, I have to put these measures. So when you employ a saving culture, you can be able to achieve your goals because you are financially literate. Please, let us not limit ourselves and each and every time cry, repeating the same statement over and over, that corruption should be able to paralyze us and limit our mindset. So please, let us try our best to be financially literate.
All right, I know you have appreciated the teams. Thank you so much. First of all, what is outstanding for me at first? All the teams are great speakers. Thank you so much for giving us such a good time to listen to you, all right? So you scored quite highly on my end when it comes to your mastery of language. Well done on that. Now, looking at the debate, corruption is a great impediment in achieving financial security amongst the youth than financial literacy. First speaker's definition of terms, I appreciate what you guys did. Both of you scored good in terms of that. Being your role as first speakers. But now, still back to the motion. The proposers chose to tell us that corruption, yes, is the greatest impediment. And the girls, you give your fight. The gentleman decided to take the motion and tell us, no, financial literacy is the greatest, right? I wanted us to look at some of the key terms. For me, the key term there was youth and financial security as well. So in all your submissions, do not forget that the goal is to address this monster called financial security and amongst the youth. Financial security amongst the youth. So is it corruption that is the biggest, or is it financial literacy? So don't forget the key things. We got lots of examples, for example, from the proposers telling us how corruption is bad. You give us an example, for example, of Linturi. That's for the first speaker, Charlene. You came and gave us an example of what we have heard from the CS agriculture. But connect it to the broader perspective of the term on financial security and how it has affected the youth. Yes, we know the fertilizer story and everything else. And by the way, you could be crucified because he was exonerated and people say he was innocent, you know? So you don't just come and say that. And across the teams as well, I've seen some of you who got it. Every time you come and give us facts like, for example, you're mentioning as a whole CS of a country, or you're coming to mention what the president did, you want to always authenticate your sources. You better come and say, according to the Daily Nation on this date, they reported that the CS of agriculture did it. So that it's not you just speaking like me. The point is this, evidence is a starting point of every debate. Evidence is a starting point of every debate. We don't have evidence and we can't tell that. We'll just think you're just stray guys, just like normal guys out there who will be speaking politics anyhow. All right? Very important to know that. My colleagues may go ahead to give a few more details on some of the things, but let me just say this. I think I've addressed you for speakers, St. Clair's, Nora. I think you stood out for me as well, bold and good speaker. The only word I felt that you needed to check on is in developing versus undeveloped countries. I think you meant undeveloped when you say in developing, all right? Just check on that. So good examples always link across the board, always link to the main agenda of the day. Esther as well.
Hello. I loved the debate. I loved the fact that all of you came here knowing what you're coming to say, but I want to caution you that when you're coming to define terms, after defining those terms, contextualize that motion. What do those terms mean? Is that clear? And then the same thing, that avoid subjective arguments. I did this, my dad did this, our school did this, because we cannot ascertain those, but we can move with facts. The other thing is, let your quotes and your data be complementary of your arguments, so that let the quote complete the argument, or let the quote provide additional information about the argument, so that we just don't throw quotes around. You see that? Like the warmer the bed, the colder the future. Hard work pays. Smart work. You see that? After all that, people will be wondering, what are you saying? That being said, the rest have been said by my